Right, Dan, you should just be unmuting. There you go. I think you're unmuted. Good evening to you.
How you doing? You right?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Very good evening and welcome to my business and property business lockdown rescue evening webinar. As you're aware, I've been interviewing different industry experts, different millionaire clients, and exploring what's going on with their world at the moment, as well as some other like technical staff. We've spoken to solicitors, we've spoken to all sorts of different people, and tonight, welcome Dan. You are kind of my go-to rent-to-rent person at the moment with your successful history of putting together a rent-to-rent portfolio. Could you fill in everybody with details of when you started and kind of how you moved to where you are now?
Yeah, sure. It was 2014 when me and my brother Simon we signed up to, I've forgotten how many companies, property people who were teaching various strategies, because we were looking for a way to create some passive income. We just didn't know what we were doing, and so we signed up to these things, and we didn't really do much about it, and we just had those emails coming in all the time for 2.5 years. So, and it was October 2016 when me and Simon were on the phone together, and we said, "Do you still get those Glenn Armstrong emails?" And we said, "Yeah, we do." And then Simon said, "There's a seminar in London in November. Do you want to go?" And I went, "Yeah, let's look these." So then we went down and we met you, Glenn. And it was a 2-hour seminar, and I mean, we had no money, we had nothing, and our dad had just lost his business as well, so he was in a bit of a situation, and we wanted to just pull everyone out of it. And when he talked about rent to rent, we'd never heard of it before, and our eyes lit up. We were sitting towards the back, and we looked at each other, and we thought, this is what we need to do. So from that night, my brother Simon did a 4-day course in London. Learned a hell of a lot of stuff, and we realised that rent to rent was the thing that was going to get us out of the situation we were in. We needed cash flow. We didn't have large capital, but rent to rent, you don't need that, and we were able to action it because of our skill set. And so February the 4th, 2017, we set the rent to rent course, and all three of us, me, Simon, and Mick, our dad, and then we haven't looked back. We just followed the blueprint. We did whatever it took to get what we needed. Me and my brother Simon were still doing full-time jobs in events. We've been freelance in events for years. I'm an actor as well, so obviously acting is not always there, so I had to do other things, and I was just sick of doing those other things. So yeah, we built our business, United Relocation, from absolutely nothing, and now we have 17 houses in the West Midlands, making it's around 15 grand profit a month when we're fully let.
Okay, so that's taken from when you did your first one, around 2.5 years, would you say?
Yeah, it took us 3 months implementing all we needed to do, and that's what we focused on to begin with. Was just number one. We didn't want to, think about 30 of them. We just need to focus on one, because if we can do one, we can do 2, and if we can do 2, we can do 4, and then 8, and so on. And so that was May 2017. So that's literally the 3rd year anniversary of getting our first house next month.
Okay.
And when we got that, we just started. It just started to snowball, because we weren't going to stop, and we were hungry to achieve what we set out to do. And we've done it. We haven't finished yet. There's a lot more to go.
Yeah, it's interesting that the first one is always the hardest one. There's lots of different hurdles to overcome. speaking the right language. And I think one of the biggest challenges that most people trying to do rent to rent come across is when they see letting agents and they say to them, "Oh, this is just like a back to back." You're what's the expression that they use in the letting? It's a sublet. How do you get around that?
Yeah. Well, because we were educated very well, we always had someone to hold our hand, and whenever we had an issue, we were able to work as a team to get through it. The issue was, obviously there's a lot of landlords and estate agents who don't understand a company let or how rent to rent works. But rent to rent isn't the title or kind of what we said to them. We didn't use that as a term, because the rent to rent is just, it's used within the property industry, within people like us. We use that, but in front of estate agents and landlords, that term isn't used. We framed it in a way that we were a company, and it's true. We are a company that help relocate professionals who were moving to the area for a new job. So if we framed it with a story, agents and landlords were able to kind of relate to it and understand it better than saying, "Oh, we want to make money on your house. We're going to do X, Y, and Z." Like, obviously, no one's going to go for that. But if we created a story, which we did, and also the family business element plays a massive part in the success of us, because people love that. They love that we're father and sons, that we all work together, and we've created this from nothing. People really buy into that, which we play on all the time.
What was really strange is that when we were introduced to it as a concept quite a few years ago, I'd been actually doing similar things, but for a different purpose. Because if I had a project, so for instance, if I had a project in Stoke-on-Trent or somewhere like that, quite often my build team would go and stay down there Monday to Friday, and it would involve me actually renting a property out for them to stay in. Whether it's 5 or 6 of them, but they all needed different rooms, and it is exactly what you do and what rent to rent is. So it's
been going on for a long time, and it kind of wasn't really labelled as anything. It was just like, I guess, it was just ease of use to rent out a property, and then obviously put some employees in, and then it just became a thing. But obviously now it's labelled what it is. There are certain pockets in the country where it works extremely well. Obviously, you've got to do your research, but it is very profitable. And we're providing a very, very good service along with very good accommodation. Because we've gone for high end.
Yeah,
we don't do any blue collars or anyone on benefits, that kind of thing.
No, I mean, you're exceptionally high.
Yeah, we're on the top end.
And you have a lot longer term arrangements with your landlords and things.
Every deal we've done is different. Some landlords are greedy, some landlords don't care, they just want their rent, so we're able to construct a deal that works for both parties. Also the agents as well, we kind of all work together, so it's kind of like 3 people in the chain sometimes, and so if we're keeping everyone happy, then everyone carries on, and we can start to renew contracts as and when they come up for renewal.
Yeah, and I'm sure most of the questions tonight we're going to get are going to be kind of revolving around the rent to rent stuff, but I've been trying to get you to do some proper development stuff alongside of rent to rent for some time, and I know you've been hunting for potential deals. How's that side of things been going for you, and what's the potential profits that we're looking at?
So obviously rent to rent was our cash flow strategy. We left or didn't have to do our other jobs probably 1.5 years, 2 years in, which has enabled us a lot more free time. And interestingly, during the whole pandemic at the moment, it's made us realise a hell of a lot more in terms of what we don't need to do anymore, and things we don't need to worry about because they just happen in the background. So that's really more time for us. But in terms of hunting for deals, yes, we have. It was a year ago. We were in a race to buy a house. It was $1,050,000 in Dulwich. Next door had been split into 4 flats, and after all the maths, we had realised that we could make 400 grand profit by doing the same thing. So it was a unique situation that the vendor didn't really care who he was selling to, and it was a race to exchange. I think there was 4 parties involved, and we were actually last in the game. So we didn't get that one. We weren't successful, but 400 grand was the potential profit to be made on that. And when was it now? It was the summer. I looked at another house in North London, detached house, falling apart. The numbers stacked up if we could make 4 flats. So we did a deal and got the pre-app in. Now we paid for a 5-week fast track on the pre-app. Week 14, we still had heard nothing. So we put a complaint in, and we miraculously got the information we wanted. However, they wouldn't allow us to have 4 flats. They would allow 2. So we actually we pulled out of that one. But if that was going to go ahead in the way we wanted, we could have made 389 grand. Or if we refinanced them and kept them all 4 of them, we could have still made 249 grand profit, and we would have 4 flats in our portfolio.
Okay, but
however, that didn't work. It doesn't matter though, because we've learned so much from the process.
Yeah.
So moving forward, as and when we can start moving around again and viewing properties, we can start putting offers in again.
So without having a huge amount of working capital, pot to your name, how could you possibly think of doing projects of that size? I've never said that I have any money, and I don't. We're starting from the ground up, and everyone in our kind of property group knows that's what we do, and the angle that we're coming from. However, there's a lot of people in the group that we mix with who've got capital, who haven't got so much time, or want a joint venture with people who are on the same page. So I managed to raise 250 grand for a deposit for that last property, and 1.1 mil in bridging was about to be secured. Obviously, there's a lot of paperwork involved, but we got to the final stages. We don't need our own money. We are using other people's money, joint venturing, and so we can all benefit from the profits at the end. And for most people listening to you saying them words on here, they'll be like, what? How's that possible?
Well, sorry, I couldn't hear that. Can I say that again?
I said, for people sitting here listening, you talking about multi-million-pound developments and not needing any money to do them, they'll be sitting there going, "Oh God, how's that possible? How can you possibly do that? Because there's no way I could do anything like that."
How's it possible?
Yeah.
Well, it's all about finding the deals. It's all about education and understanding what you need to. Yeah, this line keeps on cutting out. I really can't hear.
Yeah, it's
I really
just
can't
doing.
very well. Sorry,
it
Glenn.
keeps
Yeah,
doing.
it's just-
And I'm coming over the top as well. I don't know if I'm switched on 2 places. Let me just switch to my phone. It might go funny for a few seconds. Right, just see if that's any better when it starts up. Can you hear me now? Let me know when you can hear me again. Let me know when you can hear me again. Again now. Can you hear me again now?
There we go, that's good.
Yeah, there you go. That should. I think I've just switched across to my 4G, so that might be a little bit better. Some days it works better on one than the other. Sorry, we were just talking about. See, I know when you first started on Rent to Rent, I tried to get you to do another deal alongside it that would net you around 100 to 300 grand profit. And there was no way I was persuading you that you were doing anything else other than Rent to Rent.
To begin with, we needed some cash flow. Cash flow was the thing that we needed to do, and establishing that first is what we needed to do, and we did. We were obviously always going to dive into doing big deals, but there was a lot of information to begin with. A lot of time was needed, but our time was best spent creating our cash flow, which is one of the best things we've ever done, because during the global pandemic, when people have no jobs, no money, we're still making money. We're taking our wages like normal because of the system we've set up.
Yeah, how far are you going to take it? Because, like you said, you're on £15,000 a month profit at the moment. How far are you going to go with your rent-to-rent business compared to your property development business?
So the plan is we're going to double the portfolio this year. Obviously, we've been slowed down a little bit, but I endeavoured to still make that happen. But the end goal isn't just that. There is scope to make this more nationwide. So the idea of franchising is something that's on the cards, connecting with with lots of groups to create a larger group. That is something that we would definitely consider and try to implement. But we will be working with the other property deals as well, as and when they come in, because it's about multiple streams of income. We make our money from rent to rent. I make money as an actor and writer. I'll be making money through development deals and a buy-to-let portfolio, which we'll be building. So there's several streams of incomes there, which we are setting up, just so as and when we get older, we'll just keep on benefiting from what we set up 3 years ago to one, now and then obviously in the future.
So with your origins in the West Midlands, although your accent's fairly distant, are we going to be seeing you in Peaky Blinders anytime soon?
Well, yeah, luckily I've never had but I did audition for Peaky Blinders in February. I didn't hear back, but then the pandemic started, so maybe they just didn't call me because they stopped filming, but who knows. But I've got my own production company now, and I'm writing a lot of comedies. So things are in the pipeline. Things are going to happen.
And this actually gives you the time to be able to do what you want, doesn't it?
Exactly. This is what I wanted to do. During the pandemic, there's a lot of time to think about things, and I genuinely am where I wanted to be 10 years ago. A lot of things have happened on the way, but I have my own business. It's a family business. We're making passive income. I'm writing comedy. I have a production company, and I've got some good credits on my CV, and we're pushing forward. It's exciting.
Yeah, one of my favourite stories from working with you is the story of your car. Would you like to share that with everybody?
Yes, I love BMWs, and ever since they announced it was being made, I wanted a 4 Series coupe, and I had a 1 Series at the time. So 2011, I bought a 1 Series, but the only way to pay for it was through working, giving time for money, which is a concept I have always wanted to leave and have nothing to do with, because it's all about passive income. And when the 4 Series was launched, I was like, right, I'm going to get this car. I don't know how I'm going to get it, but I'm going to get it. And I created a folder on my phone with all the pictures, and I thought about it all the time. I test drove them quite a lot. I was just obsessed with it. And it was November 2018. So we were a year and a half old, maybe just a little bit older. And it was November the 9th. I picked up my custom-made BMW 420d M Sport coupe from the BMW dealership, and I was with my brother, and we needed to play a song. What song do we play? The first song that you drive your new car, and we decided that one of the songs that you play at the Masterminds is "It's My Life." And we thought that was quite a fitting song, so we put that on full blast, and we drove around Solihull playing "It's My Life," and it reminded us of the Saturday mornings at your square.
Cool. I love that story. So, how are you finding actually running the portfolio at the moment in this lockdown situation?
It's when it first started to kind of come into the UK, and the UK was talking about this a lot more. I was keeping my kind of eyes and ears out. And then when lockdown was announced, we were actually decorating our 17th house. And so we were just cracking on with that, and we just did what we had to do. Everything was normal. We could still move around, go to shops and things to get bits that we needed. But then it kind of got to a point where it was like, okay, this is actually quite a serious thing here. Now, we had a couple of rooms empty already. A couple of people were leaving shortly, and we had a 6-bed house that we had just paid rent on and that we'll be doing up. And whenever I get a new house, I always make sure that we at least fill enough rooms to just break even, and then obviously anything else is just profit. So this was a 6-bed house. We managed to fill 4 rooms within a month, which is great. It's what we normally do. Then I sold another one a couple of weeks ago, so we've got one empty. So yeah, it's half the profit we're making on that. So even though it's a global pandemic, we managed to nearly fill a brand new house and take money from it and not actually lose any. And the portfolio, we've realised, is actually running itself. We've got a property manager, which we employed a few months ago, who helps us out with a lot of things. We have got a few rooms empty right now, but that's obviously due to circumstance. But it doesn't actually matter. We've actually faced a lot more worse things than a global pandemic. We've been faced with everything you could imagine, and we've had some really hairy moments. But this feels like a walk in the park. We just adjusted some rents with landlords. We had conversations with them. They are in the exact same position. We, as a company that are renting a house and renting them out, we're kind of in the middle. So if tenants can't pay, obviously, we're going to take a hit. So we need to adjust that with our landlords. We're obviously going to pay them back, but we need to just get through these next few months in the best way possible. And so adjusting rents was the thing that we did. And luckily, because of the tenants, the caliber of tenants that we have, they work in offices and they can work from home and they're on full pay. So it doesn't actually matter. We've only had a couple of people who can't afford to pay, so we've worked out some plans for them. A couple of people left. One went back to Spain. One just couldn't afford it, so he moved in with family. So we've got a few rooms empty, but it's not as bad as it could have been. We've got some really good tenants, and we look after them, and they look after the houses, and it's a nice community that we've made, and it's made us realise that we don't actually need to be as present as we thought we were. It's given us a lot of time to just sort out some admin and little bits of maintenance here and there. But overall, we're actually we're pretty happy with how things have gone. Obviously, next month we're going to adjust rents again, but as soon as we're allowed to move around and do viewings, in fact, we had an inquiry about 10 minutes ago for one of the rooms. So people are still inquiring. We do video tours, and we've actually sold 3 rooms in the last 3 weeks on video tours. So people still want to move, and we will allow them to, obviously, when it's safe, and obviously if all the housemates are okay with things. But yeah, we're actually we're in a very good position right now, which a lot of people can't say that.
Moving is one of the things that you are allowed to do within the current situation. Now, you're on my private client mentoring, which means we sit down fairly regularly to look at and evaluate what you're doing and how to move it forward. And one of the things we have spoken about is the potential to franchise your operation, because it is so professional. You've really got it more professional than I've ever seen anybody else's operation. And we spoke about franchising, and with franchising you really need to have 1 or 2 or 3 sample projects running as potential franchisees before you can actually have a franchise. In fact, it's got to be a proven model to be able to exhibit at the franchise shows and that type of thing. And it strikes me that right now is an ideal moment, because there's going to be people on here that would love to do rent to rent but don't quite know how to go, how to start, all that type of thing. Would you like them to contact me and me forward their addresses if they're interested in being your trial franchisees?
There's a couple of people that are already showing interest in this kind of idea. But more people we can get involved and more conversations we can have, we can establish, more of what this could be. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, brilliant. Now, before I start opening up for questions, and please, if you have a question, please either pop your hand up and we'll come and let you ask it direct, or type it in the chat box and I'll read it out, so that we can get a reply. Your dad, when you first started, you mentioned had challenges with his business, and also his word patterns that he had in the early days, and his kind of mindset. Would you like to chat about how that has come along since when he first started doing this?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure you won't mind me talking about that. So Dad, he had a carpentry business for over 30 years. He built it from nothing and built it up to be very big. But the last recession, 2008, that actually caused it to go. Obviously, he was in a very depressed state, and he was not himself. He was a shell of himself. And we tried a few things, a couple of businesses, but that didn't really work out. But when we introduced him to rent, he didn't really understand the concept, so we had to explain it further to him. And then obviously we did the course together, and he understood it and got it. And it took a while, but yeah, when we started to make money and could see that this was a thing that we could grow and grow, he changed a lot. He wasn't the kind of, I guess, shell of himself that he was, and he became a lot happier knowing that he was in control again. Which I think that's the thing, isn't it? When you're an entrepreneur and you build up a business and you lose it, obviously it's out of your control sometimes because of, I guess, climate, etc. But kind of holding the reins again and just going for it. I think that really helps. Obviously working with us as well. With his sons, I'm sure he loves it. But yeah, it's something that we can grow together, which I think he likes a lot.
Yeah, no, from a mindset perspective, I do like helping people and trying to mess with their heads to help themselves. And I know that during the process, he very regularly mentioned what had happened to him in the past until we actually banned him from talking about it.
Yeah, there was a lot of language patterns that he was using, which I don't think he realised he was, which was actually hindering his progression in kind of overcoming that. But yeah, mixing with the right kind of people and just progressing forward, it all kind of just started to just fizzle away.
Okay, cool. Right, we've now got some questions starting to come in. So let me start with Alex Lai. He says, I'm assuming it's he, I'm not sure. Did you apply for the HMO licenses for each house?
Not each house, because not each house actually needs a license. So it only becomes licensable when it's 5 or more people living in the property. So you can have a 3 and a 4 bed, which we actually do have, which is still a HMO, so you still need to get the correct things done to the property. But it's only a licensable one when it's 5 or more. Unless you're in an Article 4 area, which obviously that's a different kettle of fish. That's like level 2 HMOs. Don't need to go into that.
Okay. And Andrew, you might need to expand on this question. Simon, you might be able to, Dan, you might be able to pick up on this. Who are you using to do the franchise documents? Well, that we don't know yet because it hasn't kicked off yet. I don't know if you had to look into the actual getting the contract drawn up originally.
Oh, no, we haven't actually looked at that. It's still very early days.
So this is all in like the construction and trial and error period, which is why normally with a franchise, I remember with my video shops, we were looking at franchising it. So I'd open to franchise as a model with people to say that this is like a dummy run franchise. So I'd open 2 because once they'd been running for a certain time profitably, that would then mean I could then take that model to the franchise shows and places where you could really start winding it out. So it's a process, and that's why you start off with a couple of, I suppose, guinea pigs as anything. But, from somebody trying to start on their own to actually working with you in your experience and all your paperwork and all your professionalism behind them, I would say it would be a much better way of getting going.
Yeah, absolutely. We have spoken to quite a few people throughout our journey who were more advanced than us, and we're doing things. We've met people at various networking events. It's great to hear stories, what to do, what not to do, and obviously then all that information just kind of helps you on your journey. It's certainly helped us, and it's really nice to actually talk about what we do to people who are starting out as well. We see people who were in the same position that we were 3-4 years ago, and they just come across it and they want to get into it. So yeah, it's really nice to kind of pass on kind of some information.
Yeah, cool. Peter said on here, didn't the video shops go bust? Yes, Peter, I sold out at 29 for $1.5 million to a company called Video Store PLC, which were part of the Benetton Group, and unfortunately I took most of it in shares, which weren't cashable for 3 years, and 2 years in they called in the receivers, which had a knock-on effect. So I went from millionaire to cab driver, and that's pretty humbling. So like millionaire once, you've done it once, got a choice. What do? Put your head in the sand, or pick yourself up, brush yourself down and move forward. Like you speak to any motivational coaches, it's about how many times you get back up again, not how many times you get knocked down. So yeah, it didn't take me too long to get my taxi thing and convert that into 30 cars that were bringing in $3,000 a week profit, and I didn't have to work anymore, but that's a whole different story. So Ingrid, could you please email me? I'll put my email in here. I'll put it out to everybody. Excuse me for typing and not multitasking at the same time. And I'll send it out to all. So all you need to do is drop me an email and I'll pass on your details to Dan. Got a few actually. Yeah. So yeah, just Peter just said Blockbuster has gone. What is the Netflix of Rent to Rent? I think Rent to Rent probably is the Netflix of the moment, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. There are so many companies right now, like I said earlier, who cannot operate, who are not making money.
Yeah.
Yet we are. We do high-end house shares. There's a lot of serviced accommodation properties on a rent-to-rent basis that aren't making money because they're short-term bookings and they're all gone. But we've got long-term tenants. So yeah, this is essentially a recession-proof and a global pandemic-proof business.
As proven by the Blacker Boys. So yeah, I think Peter, you're talking about industry disruptors like Uber and even the rental side. You're gonna have to help me there. I can't remember what's the company where you book lots of little holiday rents. Airbnb. Yeah, all that type of stuff. It's just the industry disruptors, which and Uber Eats and all that type of stuff, where they take a bit of a lot. And I know of a hairdressing business that's done the same. It's normally down to having better marketing. Okay, you're getting quite a lot of people interested in your franchise stuff, so that'll keep you busy while you're sitting at home, not twiddling your thumbs or not twiddling your thumbs as it may be. We got decorating to do. I've got scripts to write. So I'm very busy, so it's all good. Okay, I've got no one with their hands up. Look, you've got an opportunity to ask someone who's very experienced at the rent-to-rent stuff. Any questions you'd like? Hang on, Stephen. Can always. Stephen, you have a question for Dan.
Hi Dan, good evening. I'm very interested in your franchise idea. I mean, I can't believe how successful the likes of Greg's have got to be. People do like brands these days.
Yeah.
And if you got your franchise going, I'm guessing you'd have like a gold standard for rentals, which would be fantastic for tenants, as well as
absolutely, yeah. It's kind of that brand kind of awareness, isn't it? And it's kind of people buy into stories, like we said earlier on. And if you can create a story kind of countrywide, and it just happens to be a house share business, and people are looking for that, people will buy into it, and that's obviously where we can just get repeat business, and it just grows and grows.
But you've got a very strong brand, and also a very professional, systemized business that lends itself perfectly for franchising.
Yeah, absolutely. We've streamlined our business so well. We did it because we didn't want a job for ourselves. Obviously, we've done a lot of work to get to where we are, but now we just reap the benefits from all of that hard work, all those 25-hour days that we put in. So yeah, it's we've got a full-on system which we can definitely duplicate without problems.
Okay, so Peter says, how much does an HMO license cost?
It depends from council to council. Also, if you're part of any landlord associations, you get discounts. And if you've had multiple licenses with one council, you can get discounts again. We pay between 500 and £1,000, I think. But yeah, it's all kind of sits between those two figures.
Okay, thank you. And now, Nigel, you have typed a question. I'm going to ask you to come on here and ask the question. Nigel Guy.
Hi Ben, hi Simon. Just a question, just going back to when you started. So you mentioned that you were able to secure funding to secure the rent-to-rent houses. So how did you do that? And then how did you actually find the houses? Did you use sourcing, or did you check by yourself on the web?
Okay, so in terms of initial finance, my dad had 40 grand that we used, and that got us, I think that was 4 houses, maybe 5 houses. And then the rest of the funding was through conversations with friends. I've got a few friends who've got some nice capital. They want to invest, and they wanted better rates than the bank. And because we had zero track record, we couldn't get any funding from the banks. So it had to be private investors. So I raised over 100 grand. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's over 100 from friends and a couple of people that we met at various networking events, even at Glenn's actually as well. So that's how we secured that. People have actually kept their money in. So we've got 2-3 years worth of investment. Just keep on putting it in. Obviously, it's a good return for them. And in terms of getting the houses, we were taught what to do, and we just went out and did it. You need to do a lot of research. You need to establish the area that you're going to be operating in, and then obviously within that area, you need to know the exact types of houses that you need to go for and which ones are going to be working. Obviously, it depends on what you want to achieve. Now we only go for houses where we can make a grand a month profit. Before we used to go for 700, but now we go for £1,000, and we can be choosy now because of how many we've got and kind of who we are now, which is great.
And those houses that you're finding for the £1,000, are they predominantly in London or anywhere in the country?
No, we operate in the West Midlands, Birmingham city centre down to Warwick. So yeah, that's our area. We don't operate in London. There's a lot of people in London. I think there's an oversaturation, to be honest, but there are some pockets on the commuter belts. So it's all about just doing your research and understanding the kind of person that you'll be attracting.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Nigel. And I think Nigel's question, Joe had a question about, can you recommend any hotspots? And yeah.
I mean, I'm not so familiar with most of the country in terms of rent to rent and the areas. I know that areas do work. Obviously, I know the West Midlands works, but not all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms, depends where Joe's based. But let's just think. In the north, there's pockets of Manchester. There's Leeds. I think there's an oversaturation in Nottingham. Derby's a good one. Burton's a good one. I believe, like down in Northampton, that's good.
Yeah, well, you got to watch out for the fact that sometimes areas are Article 4, and that makes it very difficult. Like Milton Keynes, you're just not going to operate it, so that you can forget it. Also, it's and you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but it's very much about looking at the ratios between the kind of 3-bed 2 reception or 4-bed 2 reception properties, their standard rent as a single unit, and what room rents you get in that specific area.
That's right, yeah. So the research is not just about the location, it's about the price of the houses that people rent them for. It's about the prices of the rooms that are going in the area, and obviously doing the maths, and it's looking at the ratio of who's looking for a room to how many rooms there are. And if you've got at least a 2-to-1 ratio, ideally you want a 3-to-1. 3-to-1, 5-to-1, that's a good ratio. So if it's something like 10-to-1 or 20-to-1, there's something wrong there. So just it's just a bit weird.
So that's a really good tip for everybody. And you're talking about looking at, is it which website?
Spare Room. Spareroom.com is the biggest site for
you're looking at number of people looking for a room on there versus number of people advertising rooms on there.
That's it,
Just to clarify. Okay, all right, brilliant. Right, I'm going to have a couple more questions before we wrap up. If your area suddenly becomes Article 4, how are you protected as your rent-to-rent model? Or are the houses below the Article 4 requirements? Normally, Parmetta, once you've got an HMO in an area and then they declare it an HMO, all the existing HMOs are normally accepted. Sometimes you may need to apply for licensing and stuff, and then you've got to decide whether or not to move to a different area or not. So, for instance, Milton Keynes, I think, is one of the few areas that are Article 4, but they will not allow any more multi-lets in the area. So you just couldn't do it no matter what you were going. But a lot of areas that are Article 4 will allow additional. It just gives the local council control. Article 4 means they take away the permitted development rights to rent the rooms out in the property and make it by an application rather than by right.
Yeah.
So John says, hi, are all your properties rent to rent? Have you bought some houses that you're renting out now? I don't believe you've actually bought any yet, have you?
No, we haven't bought any. My dad's got some, I think it's 3 buy-to-lets from years ago. But we don't own any in our portfolio. It's obviously rent to rent. We'll just keep that as a rent to rent business. As and when we start our buy-to-let, we're actually joint venturing with one of my friends who's got some capital, some inheritance capital. So we're going to be joint venturing together on that. But obviously we just need to wait a little bit and see what happens with the market.
Okay, 2 final things. Last question is from Richard Abrahams. How long a lease do you normally sign with the landlords?
We try and get as long as possible. Obviously, we can't put down a 50-year thing. We try and get at least 3 years. So we need to obviously think about the money that we're putting in and obviously how long it'll take to get that back. Each agent is different. They have different policies. It's very frustrating. We do try to use our agreements when we can. We've got a lot of houses on 5-year deals. We obviously want to have the houses for as long as possible, so we'll just keep on renewing as and when. In fact, we've actually already renewed one. We've got a couple to renew this year, and so we can negotiate now because obviously what's happened with the pandemic. So I think that we can benefit from that. And then obviously as and when the next ones come up, so in a couple of years' time, we can just renew. Obviously, people know that we are looking after their houses better than anyone else would. So that goes, kind of with everything that we talk about. Because obviously it's one thing saying that we're going to do X, Y, and Z to the house, but obviously when they see that we have looked after it, that we have added value to it, they want us to stay. Why would you get rid of us and put someone else in that you don't know, and risk having property damaged and obviously the rent not paid?
And if it's been running smoothly, other than thinking that they like to make a bit more money themselves, why would they do anything different? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you a final question to sum up. If you, on your own, were starting out from scratch, okay, and needed normal kind of $3,000 a month that a lot of people need to live on in order to become financially free, if you were starting out from scratch now, how long do you think you could get that $3,000 a month covered so that you could give up your day job? And then how long do you think you take somebody without any experience yet to actually do it?
Okay, that's really interesting. It would take me, if I know what I know now and had to go out and do it, I know I could get the finance. I could get the finance within the next 7 days. And that would probably be about 20 grand. And I reckon that where are we now? Where is it? May, June, July. I think August. Obviously, there's a pandemic going on. Obviously, things are going to be
let's say pandemic,
more difficult. But
let's say pandemic
I think August.
aside.
Yeah. I think three months.
Okay. Now, I always say that people become financially free through rent to rent in around 6 months if they need $3,000 a month to live on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but obviously, if someone's starting out right now, absolutely, 6 months. I know I can do it in 3.
Yeah, and that's like anything, isn't it? The first one was always the hardest, and you've got the backup, the experience, so that you could get the funding easier. But you got the funding fairly early on, quite easily, just from other people on our mentoring group.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there's always people out there that have put the money into something that into a deal that they're going to get money from. So, okay, I am going to do one more question before we wrap up. Thank you for answering that. From Richard Abrams again. How much do you spend on average fixing it up?
Oh, yeah, good question. It varies on every property. We have put £0 into a couple, and we put 12 grand into, I think, 2 or 3 of them. It all depends on what's needed. All depends on the property and how long we've got it for. The ones where we put 12 grand in, all of that there includes the initial rent, deposit if we had to put it in, furniture, all the fire stuff, everything, decorating, fixing, all kinds of things. But we're making a lot of money on those houses. The ones where we put £0 in, one of our tenants, in fact, our first tenant had an apartment in Birmingham city centre, and she couldn't afford to move back. That's why she stayed in the house share for another year, gave us that apartment. We took it on, and we got someone in to put it on Airbnb and Booking.com, and we took a little premium on the rent for doing nothing. So we made £300 a month on an apartment that we didn't own. We put no money in. And so it was a year we had that. So we made £3.5 grand for doing nothing, just for a conversation that I had with her, which is amazing.
Which is entrepreneur's neoliberalism at its best.
Indeed. And then one night I wanted to create another funnel to find tenants. To find tenants for Jaguar Land Rover. So I made a Facebook page and then just forgot about it. I then started getting loads of messages from landlords saying they've got this property, and a few of them didn't work. But one of them was a 5-bed, 5-en-suite in Coventry, and it worked. We put £1 grand into it, and we made £500 a month on something that we just kind of fell into our laps for free.
What would you recommend was the minimum amount of potential that a property should make you before you actually take it on as a new project?
So
I know you said £1,000 for you, but if somebody's just starting, where would you be?
Yeah. So what I would recommend to everyone is, let's say you're making a 5-bed house share. Your 5th bedroom needs to be full profit. Your fourth bedroom needs to either be completely broken even, or there's a little bit of profit, let's say £200 profit, and that fourth bedroom will also pay for the bills. Bedrooms 1 to 3 need to pay for the rent. Because if you've got a property where you've got one room empty and you're losing money, that is not a good deal.
No.
So I think bedrooms 4 and 5, or 5 and 6, depending on the house, they both need to be at least 85% profit of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because that way, if you've got one void, you're still making profit.
Yeah.
If you've got 2 voids, you're broken even, or you're only down a little bit of money.
Yeah, I've always said in my overviews that if you aim for £700-800 a month, but 7 as an absolute minimum, with 400 being a no-go, because that becomes a job, not a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, at least 700 profit is what we went for, and now we go for at least £1,000. I mean, if it's 900, sure, that's fine, but yeah, best part of £1,000 at least. Okay. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
And we're going to speak with you again in 12 months to find out whether or not you've gone from £15,000 profit a month to £30,000 a month.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, no doubt I'll see you in the meanwhile, but on here. So
Indeed.
Thanks very much, Dan, for giving up your time this evening to help everybody.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Again, if anybody is interested in talking to Dan about franchises, drop me a email. I'll put my email address on here and I'll forward it to Dan, and I'm sure you can have some interesting conversations. In the meanwhile, watch out for the email tomorrow with who we've got coming on to talk to you tomorrow. We'll be running one tomorrow, and then on Friday there will be a Jeep. We're just waiting for confirmation from a couple of people whether they're doing Thursday or Monday, but a Jeep, the mortgage broker, is coming to do his weekly summary on Friday. So thank you once again, Dan. A good evening to everybody.
No problem.
And keep going with the investing. There's no point in stopping. You can still operate everything at the moment. And most of all, stay safe out there. Good evening.